Every single one of you should be out of insurance in the next 12 months. And when I say out of insurance, what I mean by that is you can still use it for lead generation. Use insurance just like they've used you. So today, we're going to talk about the science of goal setting and achievement. Because what I want you to do is I want you to believe and know that there is a better life and world out there for you. I don't care how long you've been a doctor. I don't care how long you've been getting screwed. And you've been getting screwed, by the way. Right? Yes? And so there's a science and a process of how you get out of it. Now, how many people here know Dr. Andrew Huberman and will listen to his podcast? For those of you that don't know his podcast, it's the #3 podcast on Spotify, and it's dedicated to the science of life. And if you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend it. He is an associate professor of neurobiology and ophthalmology at Stanford University School of Medicine. Okay? There's a couple of concepts I want you to understand before we dive into this. Now, I want you to understand two basic concepts before we dive in. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the nervous system to change its activity in response to intrinsic or extrinsic stimuli by reorganizing its structure, functions, or connections, like injury and trauma. How many people here have some injury and trauma around insurance-based care? Okay? It is no different than the PTSD that somebody may suffer from any other traumatic event. Okay? So we have to understand this. This is the first concept that you need to understand. The second concept that you need to understand, which is actually a misunderstood concept, and that is dopamine. So your body releases chemicals, neurochemicals in your body through the process of goal setting and achievement. And I'm going to actually debunk a couple of myths in this first session about what it takes to clearly identify and achieve your goals. Because if you're like all of us, sometimes you've set goals and they don't work. How many people have set the goal at the beginning of the year they're going to lose weight, only to find themselves 2 weeks later knee-deep in a plate of French fries and cheeseburgers and chocolate sundaes, right? Or this is the year, right? So dopamine plays a critical role in shaping our drive and motivation. Dopamine is not the molecule of achievement. It's actually the molecule of drive and motivation. There's a phenomenal book. I will not go into it here, but there's Dopamine Revolution, written by another Stanford professor. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. But it talks about this. But the core function of dopamine isn't about our reward system. Instead, it is what compels us to pursue our goals, our outcomes. We need to understand the mechanisms to release it in a powerful way. So let's dive into this. There's 4 areas of the brain. There's the amygdala, the basal ganglia, the lateral prefrontal cortex, and the orbital frontal cortex, which is critical for this conversation. And what we have to do is we got to understand what each role of them is. So the amygdala, and this is all very simplified. This is all taken from 90% of what I'm sharing with you is taken from that podcast of Huberman. So this is not my research. This is somebody else's research. I want to give credit where credit is due. Okay? So the amygdala, there's 2 of them. This is associated with arousal and driving levels of alertness. This is where fear, anxiety, plus positive experiences like arousal come from. You know what's interesting is that fear, anxiety, and arousal are all very similar chemically. Okay? The basal ganglia, there's 2 pathways. There's the go pathway, which generates actions, and there's the no-go pathway, which is withholding or ceasing action. This is critical when it comes to you set a goal and you have fear as to why you don't want to move forward. Anybody here ever set a goal and then you find 14,000 other things to do besides that goal? Yes? Okay? This is where that comes from. There's the lateral prefrontal cortex. This is for immediate and long-term planning, specifically time perception. Understanding this component allows us to understand setting the correct amount of time in order to accomplish the goal. One of the biggest questions I get asked is, Matt, how much time will this take in order for me to convert? Because I don't have any more time to do this, right? How many people are working 80, 90, 100 hours a week, 16 hours a day? You're going to hear from Dr. Osh Goyle. 16 hours a day, 6.5 days a week this guy is working. Last month, he did $86,000 in cash procedures. He had done $20,000 in December. All he did was change just a few things, which we're going to talk about, okay? So and then the orbital frontal cortex, which is the multitask or evaluation of our current emotional state and arousal. Okay, so let's dive into this. Make sure you're writing this down because this is your roadmap, folks. But first and foremost, you have to choose a priority goal. Okay, now you're going to notice how this is singular. One of the greatest discoveries we made in our business is we focus on one thing, one initiative a quarter, not 3, not 4, not 5, 1. You want to know what one of the initiative was this quarter? This event. Everything else gets set aside. You have to have a priority goal, and you have to decide what goal, singular, do I want to pursue. There's an old saying, Confucius says, if you chase 2 rabbits, both disappear. And that's what we do with goal setting. Here's traditionally what happens with goal setting. Beginning of the year, I'm going to lose 15 pounds. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm not going to eat hot dogs anymore. I'm going to go on more date nights. I'm going to balance my finances. And we have like 8, 9, 10 things, and your brain can't handle it. It is a scientific proven fact your brain cannot handle it. And this is important for you to understand because in the second session, we're going to talk about a concept of the beachhead. One message, one market, one offer. My best clients, they do one thing better than anybody else. My clients that struggle, they have 5, 7 different 10 things. They are convinced that they have to offer multiple things. And what happens is your brain can't handle it. It short circuits it. This isn't math theory, this is science, okay? So what goal? You have to have a specific goal to try and pursue. If you have too many goals, it equals no results. And you have to spend serious time defining that one goal. This serious time is this weekend. And this weekend, you are going to define the one goal. The problem is you go to these events, you learn all these great things, right? Because I'm there with you. But you've got to define that one thing. And then here's the second component that's important. Your goal must be lofty. Okay? In other words, if the goal is too easy, it doesn't recruit enough of the arousal state of your brain, scientifically based. You have to have such what's called a big, hairy, audacious goal. It's absolutely crazy to people that you have to raise your heightenedness. This is why when I work with somebody, you're like, look, we want to go from 1.5 million to 1.6 million. I'm like, why'd you hire me? Because my job is to take you from 1.5 million to 3 million in 1 year and for you to work 20% less. Now, that's a lofty goal that gets your attention. You own a practice and you are there and you're working longer than anybody else. You are an employee. You are not an owner. Owners don't show up. Owners don't do. Owners do not balance the checkbook. Owners don't open up the doors. Owners don't empty the trash. Owners aren't the last to leave. Owners aren't working till midnight every damn night. Owners don't do that. Owners work 20 hours a week. They have a team in place that does it all. I didn't do any of this. I got one job, this. Okay? So, our nervous system needs to be shifted into uncomfortable states. I promise you, you will be put into an uncomfortable state this weekend. And all of those states shift our neuroplasticity. Okay? Step 2, in the pursuit of lofty goals, I want you to define a lofty goal and set aside all other pursuits. You can't chase 2 rabbits because both will disappear. For my clients that are making the transition, I love it when they get on the phone with me and they're like, hey, I'm thinking about changing billing companies. What? Well, yeah, they can save me like 1%. Like, really? Because, like, if you just offer orthobiologics to every single patient that walks through the door, you can make like 80 grand. You're only making 20 right now, or 10. Okay? So you have to set aside, your future is nothing to do with insurance. In fact, for those of you that are 100% cash, about 80% of what you offer has no future. My best clients focus on the thing that drives the most profit. That's how we keep score in business, not revenue, profit. And that's what they focus their energy on, okay? Anxiety and frustration comes with learning new things. This is neuroplasticity. So what do? You must have deep sleep and you must have rest. This is not a negotiable. This is based on science. Anxiety increases when you don't sleep. I know you were all trained, Matt. I don't need more. However, I will tell you that as an owner, as a founder, you need deep sleep, you need rest, and rest is getting away from the practice. This shifts your neurocircuitry based on science. And when you do that, what happens is you start to have massive breakthrough. Now, here's the next component. You have to define your goal in terms of verb actions. And it has to be measurable. There has to be specificity. You have to put additional specificity on your goal with verbs. We'll talk about that. This is an interesting thing, by the way. This is what the science tells us. This is abundantly clear. There is a significant difference of retention between writing and typing. When you write it down, it engages your neuroplasticity. When you type it, it does not. I know. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, right? But look, the numbers are abundantly clear. Okay? Right? This is like the person that says, oh, I can text and drive at the same time. I'm like, no, you can't. I mean, would you text and have surgery at the same time? Okay? And then there's a major block of action required. So we're going to talk about this here in a second. I'm going to go into each one of these here in a minute. So this is how this works, okay? And I'm going to go back a little bit, and then I'm going to come back through because I want you to really understand this. So who's got a lofty goal? Roddy, what's your lofty goal? Do $1 million cash this year. Okay. That's a 10x. That is a lofty goal. Okay? That's what I want from all of you. So then the next thing is he put specificity around the goal in the next 12 months. Now, here's what's really interesting about this. The more specific you can get with the definition of the verb actions, major block of action required, the more likely your brain is to focus in on it. If we just say, I'm going to add $1 million in cash services in 2024, and that's all we leave it as, the brain's going to go, screw that. Let's go watch some Instagram squirrels. Okay? Right? If we say we're going to do $1 million in cash services in 2024, and he puts it in terms of, and I'm going to make an offer of cash services to 80% of my patients, and I'm going to invest 60 minutes 3 times a week in learning how to build my skill set of offering these cash services. Now the brain has just been told, oh shit, this is real. We better get in on this. Okay? It's a massive computer. And what happens is we start to shift the neuroplasticity. Now in a minute, we're going to talk about dopamine and its role in motivation, because you could even set that goal and still not be motivated. And when you sit down, did anybody sit down? Okay, I'm going to do a time block from 8 to 9. You sit down, and all of a sudden, 15 minutes in, you're like knee deep into Kate Middleton, right? Or whatever else is going on in the world today, right? We've all do it. Come on, don't you all do it? Don't you all get distracted? Where's my squirrel brain people, right? So we have to have specificity. It has to be a lofty goal. How many people are like, shit, damn, $1 million, and he's only did 125 last year. Matt, shouldn't he just set it at like 200? Wouldn't that be right? No. Clients we work with, we want them to triple their business, double their business, double their business. We got their attention. There's no limit on what you can do. We have some clients that are doing $10, $12 million a year. Okay? And they were doing 5 when they started working with us. So I don't care where you are, every single one of you can be better. This is why I love working with doctors, is you are never satisfied with average. You're never satisfied with good. You only want to be excellent and elite. Yes, we're my excellent and elite people. So specificity and measurability are critical. As we go along, you will hear us talk about 90 days. 90 days, 90 days, 90 days. This is what your brain can handle. If you are just getting started in this, a standard number that I tell our clients that are beginning with this, if they've done $0 in cash services, we tell them in the first quarter, just do $125,000. It sounds like an insurmountable number. I will tell you over 50% of them hit that number within 6 weeks. And then guess what we do? Go to 250 for the rest of the quarter. Okay? So we have to define it. And then we have to have a specific time frame. How long do you pursue? How many people here have ever watched Mad Men? How many people know who John Hamm is? The guy, the dark-haired, really attractive. Okay. So John Hamm's an actor in Hollywood, and he said, I'm going to give myself 5 years. If at the end of 5 years, I haven't made significant progress and I can't be an actor full-time supporting myself, then I'm not going to do this anymore. And guess when he got his gig for Mad Men? Year 4, month 10. Okay? And along the way, he started seeing progress. Every single one of you should be out of insurance in the next 12 months. And when I say out of insurance, what I mean by that is you can still use it for lead generation. Use insurance just like they've used you. Okay? We're going to flip the tables on them. But how long should you pursue this? Well, there's no future in insurance-based care. Correct? 0. It's not getting any better. I love how the AMA was like jacking, oh, we're so happy we were able to get 3.5% brought back to the doctors as a cost of living increase on your reimbursement rates. I'm like, that's insulting. And if there's anybody here from the AMA and you feel insulted, you should. Because you're doing the industry a disservice. You haven't done anything for us. And I'm lumping myself together with you. They haven't done jack for you. They haven't protected you. They've rolled over like a happy little puppy getting its belly rubbed, happy with just little scraps. They do nothing for you. So, how much time in a day? And we're going to talk about how much time. How many people here are familiar with the 80-20 principle? Okay? The Pareto principle, 20% of your efforts are going to give you 80% of your results, right? So we're going to talk about that with regards to goal setting. So how much time in a day? This is the question I get asked all the time. I'm going to give you the formula in just a few minutes. What we know works from the science is that we focus 12 weeks at a time. I want your goals to be only quarterly based. You can have a big goal, like Roddy just said, for the $1 million, right? And I'm going to tell you right now, this is being recorded. I'm going to state this right now. Roddy will be at $1 million by the end of September. I know that for a fact because I work with him, and I'm going to tell you right now, he's undershooting the number. His number should really be 2 million. All right, so you got to focus on this 12 weeks at a time. No more. You have to define how many hours per week, per day, and which days of the week you will pursue this goal. One of the other things we do with our clients is we tell them, I want you to go into your calendar. I love doing this to the pain management docs because they're so used to seeing 60 patients in a day, every single day. And I go, so what we're going to do is you're going to take a day off. Well, I take Friday afternoons off. I'm like, that's not really taking a day off. You're going to take Wednesdays. What? No patients on Wednesday. And if Mrs. Smith says, and your staff comes in, and Mrs. Smith can only come in on Wednesday because she's always seen you on Wednesday, can you just see her? The answer is no. Because that day is going to be focused on your future, not your past. Okay? That's a classic example. We'll talk more about that over the next couple of days. This formula right here, based on science. Remember, I cannot stress to you enough. This is all based on science, all studies. If you want to get all the studies, you go listen to the Huberman podcast. You can go read the show notes. You'll see all the studies that Dr. Huberman cites, okay? This formula right here is effective for 90% of goals using verb actions and putting them on pen and paper. I no longer, all my goals are written. I carry a notebook, and all my goals are written down. I write my goal out every single day, which we'll talk about. Okay, so let's talk about goal pursuit. You must answer these 2 questions. Do I want to pursue this goal? And am I willing to do the things that are required? The second part of that phrase is more important than the first. It's easy to have 6-pack abs. By the way, I don't have them. Because I'm not willing to give up pasta or bread or a glass of wine last night at dinner or a dessert, okay? I'm not willing to do the things to have 6-pack abs. I know they're there. They're under that layer of abdominal fat. They're there. I'm sure Colin and Ryan could ultrasound them and say, look, there they are, right? But I'm not willing to do the work. I am willing to do the work to free 100,000 doctors worldwide from the tyranny of insurance by the end of 2033. I will do the work with our team. And when I say I mean Mavrix, because it's not me. There's a great team in here in this room that they do a lot more work than I do. okay? But I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to make the sacrifices. I'm willing to be out on the road. I'm willing to travel 3 different time zones to spread the gospel of this, okay? I'm willing to push myself to learn new things to help you grow your businesses. I'm willing to make myself so uncomfortable in a space with which I had zero training in 10 years ago, and to put myself in an uncomfortable situation and ask my doctors, what does that mean from a medical standpoint? Okay? I'm asking the same of you. Because unless you're willing to do the work, you will never get out of being uncomfortable, and you will never reach your lofty goals. It's based on science. You can't debate it. Okay? So you have to be willing to do the things. And then you have to ask, am I feeling resistance? Damn right you're going to feel resistance. Okay? So do I want to achieve this goal? Now, how many people, I'm going to debunk one of the great myths. And I believed this for a long time until I read the science. And here was the myth. The myth was, if I'm not motivated, all I have to do is visualize my end result and I'll get motivated. People in the personal development spaces, if you're not feeling the motivation to do the work, all you got to do is just visualize your goal, and you get in that brand new Mercedes and you're going to have instant motivation. Doesn't work that way. Here's how it works. If you are motivated, here's the other one. And you got to meditate like 6 hours a day in order to get your goal, and then you're just going to do that. That's not true at all. All you got to do is visualize the result you want 3 to 5 minutes a day. Okay? So if yes, and you say if you want to achieve the goal, then do I want to do the things required to accomplish the goal? Yes. If yes, then just spend 3 to 5 minutes visualizing how you would feel in the future and associate that with the outcome. So you have the lofty goal. It's $2 million. It's not $1 million. To do $2 million in 2024, okay, right? And Roddy's willing to do the work because he's doing the work, and he's making the offer to every single one of his patients, including in surgery. We'll learn about that later on today, okay? So he wants to accomplish this goal. So he's willing to do the work. If you're willing to do the work, if you spend 3 to 5 minutes a day, that's it, visualizing the results, it's going to dramatically increase the likelihood that you're going to accomplish that lofty goal. Okay? But Matt, what if I'm not motivated? You ready for this? Positive visualization will not motivate you. The dopamine is the drug of motivation. Now, you can release dopamine, by the way. Has anybody here read this data about ice baths that, if you do an ice bath every day, it increases your dopamine? It's absolutely 100% true. And the dopamine release that you get from taking an ice bath is 10x longer than anything else you can do. You will keep that dopamine hit for motivation for like 3.5 straight hours. And unlike other stimuli that you use to release dopamine, cocaine, coffee, porn, right? All of those things, those only increase a dopamine hit of like 2x, and then you go below your baseline. When you do ice baths, you have a 10x increase in your dopamine. It lasts 3+ hours, and when you come down, you don't go below your baseline of dopamine. Of the one thing that you can do every single day to increase dopamine, ice bath for 7 to 8 minutes. Do you want to know how many ice baths I've had in the last week? 0. Want to know why? I'm not willing to do the work. Okay? I know the data. I tell my wife, she's sitting in the back, I tell my wife, I'm going to get up, I'm going to take a cold shower every morning. And she goes, She's always laughing at me. She goes, what are we testing this month? Okay? Right? I've always got some shit that I'm doing, right? Okay? But I'm not willing to do the work. But I know it. So this is the conundrum. And we're going to talk about how to fix that in just a minute, okay? So do you want to achieve this goal? If no, positive visualization will not motivate you. So what do? If you are not motivated to do the work, visualize for 3 to 5 minutes the failure. When you went to med school, did any of you think you were going to fail? No? You thought you were going to fail? Every day on Friday when you took the test? That's it, I'm going to go get a job bartending?
I would cry in the shower.
You'd cry in the shower. Was it a cold shower? Okay, because you didn't get the dopamine hit. Okay. Cried in the shower. So in this journey, when you are making this transition, and you're going to make this transition, okay? So you're only going to get two choices in this. You're either going to get stuck in the system, you're going to get eaten up, you're going to get spit out, and you're going to be left on the side of the road like a used tissue, blowing away in the wind, or you're going to take control of your destiny. There is no in between, folks. There are only those two choices. And so you have to ask yourself, when it gets time and you start having that fear that you don't think that you can do this, I want you to visualize what it would like for 3 to 5 minutes to have to spend the next 15 years in insurance-based care. So this is how you break through. This is based, again, on science. This is not the theory of Matt. This is science. How will you feel? What will happen if you do not accomplish this goal? How is it going to feel like to fail? I can tell you exactly what it would feel like to fail. I've been bankrupt. 32 pages of the bankruptcy filing. Thank you, Great Recession. Okay? Bottom line is I made a lot of really bad financial decisions prior to that. I know what it's like to feed a family of 5 on $400 a month, to have a car repossessed, to have your house in foreclosure, to have your sheriff show up so much serving you with papers that you just give him coffee when he rings the doorbell. Hey, Bob. Okay? I know that feeling of failure. It sucks. I'm not going back there. That is what I see when I don't want to do the work in business. That's what I visualize. I visualize being dead ass broke, sleeping on somebody's couch because I've had to do that. Okay? So, if you're having a hard time getting motivated, I want spending a short amount of time visualizing how the failure is going to feel, releases and recruits elements of your automatic nervous system. It releases dopamine, which is the molecule of motivation, not reward, and it's associated with pain. We're going to biohack our body just like you biohack your body with whatever. We're going to biohack our body to use this. And how do you initiate and sustain effort? You need to stay motivated in certain training blocks. And let me just pull this up here. So here's how I want you to think about this. The brain is, what you have to do is, you have to have time blocks. So again, this is where the insurance industry is designed so that you cannot be successful. What's your day like? We got a patient here, and then we're going to do this procedure, and then we're going to do this injection, and then I got to go over here, and I got to do this MRI review, or then this, or in the morning I'm going to do surgery, in the afternoon I'm going to do this. Those are all designed to make sure that you are not successful. Because what you have to do is you must have specific blocks of time every day where you focus on your lofty goal and nothing gets in the way. The other thing is your focus. You have to remember your eyes are two pieces of your brain. They're actually like two other brains. And if you narrow or broaden your visual attention, this impacts your ability to stay focused, to accomplish your lofty goal. Does anybody know why they put blinders on a horse? Why do you put blinders on a horse? So the horse doesn't get distracted. What's our work environment like? It's squirrels on crystal meth distraction overload. Okay? We got the EMR, we got the CRM, we got people knocking on the door. Hey, doc, just 1 minute. Hey, doc, can you sign off on this? Hey, doc, Mrs. Smith is on the line through. Hey, doc, hey, doc, hey, doc, hey, doc. And your brain's going, bing, bing, bong, bing, bong, bing, bong. Right? What's the great thing about surgery? Everything's away. Nobody can distract me. I don't give a shit about any of them. Let's go. So I want you to have focus areas. Your time that you're going to focus in your business of growing this is not happening in your office. My best clients go get a second office that nobody knows where it is. And there's nothing in there. There's no Wi-Fi, right? There's no music. The phone isn't allowed in the room, okay? So then the other thing is you have to make sure that you're limiting stress. You have to make sure that you're eating well. It's great. I don't really have to talk to this room about eating well. And you're getting sleep. And you have to stay recovered. This last one I'm going to talk about is rewards. We're going to talk about two more things. We're going to talk about the role of rewards and why giving out rewards actually can hurt goal achievement. This one blew me away. Okay? One of the other things that is not, that I, for whatever reason, is not here, but I'm going to mention it. It's very important that you understand this. When it comes to writing down your lofty goals, some of you have heard probably that if you take a Post-it note and you put it on your mirror with your lofty goal and you're going to see it every single morning, that increases the likelihood that you are going to accomplish that goal. That is a myth, and nothing could be further from the truth. What is required if you want to accomplish your goal is every morning, wake up. I have a moleskin notebook that I use. Every morning, I wake up, I grab my pen, and I rewrite my lofty goal every single morning. Okay? And I do that, and then what I do is I write the things that I'm going to do that day to move that lofty goal forward. I don't list all the 25 things that I have to do. I focus on the one thing that I'm going to do to move my lofty goal forward every single day. And then let's talk about why rewards hurt goal achievement. This was fascinating to me. So dopamine in the reward pathways. And we're going to talk about how do you regulate dopamine. And dopamine is actually the drug of motivation. And here's what's fascinating about this. And I used to teach this. I don't teach this anymore. If you reward yourself every time you reach a goal or milestone, you're going to reduce the potency and motivation over time. You're going to lower the amount of dopamine that you are releasing that's going to motivate you. Okay? So, how do we fix this? Well, you can actually hack this. And what you do, if you reward yourself with a goal, and anytime you hit a goal, you're going to undermine the whole process of goal pursuit and achievement and your probability of success. So if you give yourself like micro rewards when you accomplish something, okay, we hit our monthly goal, let's all go out and have a pizza party, that actually reduces the ability for the team and you to reach that lofty goal. You ready for this? Here's what you do. What do we do? Anybody been to a casino? Okay, field trip. Okay, anybody ever gamble at a casino? Okay, what's so cool about gambling at the casino? Until you win. Okay, the probability is low from the guy in Las Vegas. Okay, how many people have games on their phone? Come on, how many of you have games on your phone? It's a safe place. Okay, all right. All right. You have games on your phone, and what happens? Every time you win, you feel a rush. When you lose, what happens? And you go back in and you do it again, don't you? And you keep trying to accomplish and slay the dragon or beat the Candy Crush or whatever. So here's the science behind it. It's better to use random intermittent reinforcement in the accomplishment of goals. What does that mean? You accomplish a goal. Team, let's do $100,000. Great, we do $100,000 the month of February. And if we accomplish that goal, we're going to have a pizza party. But instead, what we're going to do is we're all going to get together and we're going to flip a coin. Heads, we get it. Tails, we don't. That releases more dopamine. It keeps people more motivated. We're going to biohack the system. You can do this, by the way, with commission structures, too, with your salespeople. So let's talk about the use of 80-20, the Pareto principle in goal achievement. And here's what it looks like. The 80-20 principle is a scientific principle. It's based in nature. Therefore, if you violate it, it shall not work. You cannot violate the 80-20 principle. This is why communism doesn't work. This is why libertarianism doesn't work. Great concepts on paper, but they don't work. Why? Because they violate 80-20. 20% of the people control 80% of the wealth in the world. It's documented fact. It's been that way since the beginning of time. In communism, they try to level the playing field. Guess what? 1% of the people control 99% of the wealth. Okay? It just doesn't work. If you violate nature, bad things happen. So then why do we try to violate it? Why do we think that we can harness nature? We can't manipulate nature. We can't make it snow more in California. All right? So why do we try to push that? Well, here's the deal. There are circadian rhythms. This has all been documented. There's been numerous studies done on this. Circadian rhythms play a part. There are 3 times during the day where you have the highest levels of focus. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to make you time block and check and see when your highest levels of focus are. I'm going to hack this for you. I'm going to tell you based on science where the preponderance of people, 80+% of the people, have their best times. Ready? 30 minutes after you wake. 30 minutes after you wake, work for an hour. That's going to be a major focus time. I know some of you have kids. You can't get it. I get it, but just follow along with me here, okay? 3 hours after you wake is the second big window of focus for an hour. And the last one is 11 hours after you wake. Guess what these constitute? 20% of your waking hours. If you sleep 8 hours a day, 16 hours, that's 3.2 hours. Or it's 3 hours out of the 16 hours. It's just right around 20%. Think about that. I just gave you a recipe for you to transform your business. It is based on science. It is not the theory of Matt. Okay? So, what do? I wake up every morning around 5:45. And at about 6:15, I'm now writing in my journal and doing the work. And then at about 9-ish, I have another window. And the other thing I notice is at 5 p.m. every night, I have this big energy burst and I get a lot more done. Those are my 3 times of a day that I am working on my lofty goal. And nothing else gets put in those spots. Every single day. But here's what I want you to start working on. What's your lofty goal? How many people in this room are going to be out of insurance in the next year? You're no longer depend on it. Okay? It's a lot easier than you think. Okay? Use it for what it's worth. And every single one of you to get out of insurance, you should be doing at least $1 million a year. Cash. And cutting your work time by 30%. Later on today, we're going to go through the formula. You need literally 25% the number of patients that you currently have to make more than you're making now. I don't care where you live. I don't care who your patient is. Ariana told me it wouldn't work. She lives in Calitucky. 80% of the people are on Medicare and Medicaid. Roddy McGee told me it wouldn't work. He's in Las Vegas and Summerlin. You couldn't pick 2 more divergent type of client bases. Every single one says, it won't work, Matt. You don't understand. Here's my favor that I want from you. I want you to suspend that belief. I want you to give Ariana and I to help show you a new way, to show you a new path, to show you a better future, to finally live the dreams of your life that you've always wanted, to finally be able to treat your patients as you see fit, to finally make the money that you want to make, to finally pay off your medical school loans, provide for your retirement, and pay cash for your kids' college.